Hello. Hello. So there was a tag going around YouTube, 10 most influential books, and I thought, hey, that's a good idea, I should do that thing. And then I actually sat down and tried to come up with only 10 books. I couldn't do it. So what I'm gonna do instead is book recommendations. First, I'm gonna start off with YA recommendations. And the first one that I have is kind of a heavier story. It's really, really good. It's probably one of my favorite books ever, and it's kind of a funny story by Ned Vizzini. This book is, it's really, really good. How Vizzini writes this is just, you can tell that it's just something so incredibly personal, because how depression manifests itself a lot in teens. It's very, very cyclical, and it's very like you're digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper, and you don't have to. And this book is so beautiful and so incredibly well written. The next YA book is something I'm sure most of probably all of my friends have already read, but if you have not read any John Green books, I would suggest first book of his to read is An Abundance of Katherines. It is his lightest book. I think it's his funniest book. It's actually my favorite of his books. It's a quick read and it's really smart. I would suggest this if you haven't read any of John Green's books and kind of want to get a feel for what they're like without jumping into one of the really, really sad ones. Moving out of YA into memoir, these two books are going to be my recommendations if you've already read Bossypants by Tina Fey. If you have not read Bossypants by Tina Fey, go read Bossypants. But if you have read that book and want to find some other things similar, one that I would 100% recommend is Everyone Hanging Out With Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling? I'm gonna say Kaling. One of my favorite human beings, probably. So smart and so witty, but still is like a girl that I would want to go shopping with. And I absolutely love this book. The other memoir book that I would suggest is not just the book, it's the author, and the one I have is Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by David Sedaris. Just David Sedaris books in general, they are so funny and so quick and just really, really easy reads, and if you like memoir type stuff, this is for you. Next books, I don't really know what category to put them in, so I'm just gonna list them all off. A very, very awesome, very, very quick read is The Princess Bride by William Goldman, and it is hilarious. It's hard to say something is funnier than the movie, but this book is funnier than the movie. If you're just looking to like bring something to the beach or something to read on an airplane, Princess Bride. I have mixed results with recommending this book to people because some people can't really get into the writing style, and it is The Eyre Affair by Jasper Fforde, and it's basically all literature lives in the book world, and you can get into the book world, you can read yourself into a book. So smart and like a really, really interesting world and a great idea for a world, and I love these books. Another book, I guess, is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and I adored this book. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be based on like the description of it, so if you're kind of like about it based on the little blurb on the back, check it out anyways, because this book is so endearing and so sweet, and I really, really like it. If you like books about books, this book is very, very good. Another recommendation that I have, it's kind of weird. I haven't read any of his books in quite a while, but I really, really, really enjoyed them. I always enjoyed the stories, and it's Michael Crichton, and the book I'm recommending specifically is Timeline, and I read this book probably a little bit too young. I was like 11 or 12 when I read this book. Just the idea behind it, and it's so well written, and it really, really sucks you in. It's about time travel and archaeologists and France. So, I mean, what more could you want from one book? Michael Crichton's books are kind of science heavy, but you can do what I do. I just skim when it gets to like really, really long paragraphs about the tech behind what they're doing. But the books themselves are really, really good. My last recommendation is an author, basically, and that author is Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett's probably my favorite author. Yeah, I mean, just He's my favorite author. He writes fantasy books, but they're not like dark elves and like wizards in caves. It's basically fantasy books if they were set in like industrial age London. I'm not making it sound very good, but they're so funny and there's so many of them. A really good starting point. I would not suggest you start with the first Discworld book. I mean, you can if you want to. There are like 40 Discworld books, but the one I would suggest starting with, Monstrous Regiment or Going Postal. Such phenomenal books and just so character driven, and everything is so well developed and they're so funny and just so phenomenal. And I love these books. I started reading Terry Pratchett I think like 3 or 4 years ago, and I've read probably 30 of his books. Another Terry Pratchett book is the Tiffany Aching series, which starts with We Free Men, and it is such a great book. It is so wonderfully written, and all of the women in the book are just so phenomenal. I think the entire series is 4 books, and it's following her from age 9 to age 16, and Tiffany Aching, man, she is fantastic. The last book that I'm going to recommend, that I recommend to everyone all the time, every day, anytime anyone ever asks me, what book should I read, Kate? The answer is always Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and it is the best of both of them. This book is so incredibly well written and it's so funny and just, I love Good Omens. I recommend it to everyone all the time. Like, I have another copy of Good Omens to lend out to people. This one I don't lend out because it's signed, which is like the coolest thing ever. Yeah. I hope you liked my recommendations or got a book or something out of them. If you want more recommendations, you can just comment and I will reply. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you read some wonderful books. Bye.